So here we are again. I feel really good about this team, but it's too early to get our hopes up too much, Sens fans. Like, I know it can be really easy to because these last two games have been mega impressive. Like, straight up, I thought the Sens were going to lose tonight, and here's why. I have a reasoning. I do have a reasoning because for whatever reason, the Sens, not just the Sens, but there have been a handful of teams where it's like they'll play worse if they're in a playoff spot, and then they'll play better when they're not in a playoff spot. Well, the Sens came into tonight sitting in the second wildcard spot, and this game, they end up winning 6-2 against the Tampa Bay Lightning after beating Carolina 6-3 in their last game. But what's interesting about tonight's game is it was so dead even after two periods. It was 2-2. The shots were very close. And then in the third period, the floodgates just opened for the Sens completely, and they end up dominating. So again, it's I'm reserving myself because there's 4 games left. There's only 4 games left, but they're not in the clear by any means. Columbus and Detroit went to overtime tonight. Columbus ended up winning it. They tied it with like 17 seconds left. So that's like literally worst case scenario for the Sens. So they do still hold that second wild card spot. They are 3 points up on Detroit and 2 up on Columbus. So this is going to come right down to the wire. But if they keep playing the same way they played these last 2 games, I think they're going to be just fine. So I did do a watch party for the game tonight, so I do want to thank everyone who tuned in to the live stream. Had a lot of fun, as I always do. So, game 78 of the season was played on, I have Sunday in my notes here. Anyways, it was Tuesday, April 7th, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Start Time. I'm getting my days all mixed up here. It happens sometimes. Anyways, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Start Time against the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was another home game. So this was the third and final meeting of the season between these two teams. So the teams split the first 2 meetings. So the Sens go 2-1 against the Lightning this season, which is pretty good considering it's Tampa Bay. And, there is a chance that they could meet each other in the playoffs. So there you go. We'll see what happens. Starting goalies for the Sens, it was Linus Ullmark, and for the Lightning, it was Johansson. For some reason, I can't think of what his first name is. I don't know why, but I feel bad about that. But the Sens were 40, 27, and 10 coming into tonight. The Lightning were 48, 23, and 6 coming into tonight. And yeah, this is impressive, man. Like, this is what they can do. This is what they can be. They can be a scary team. Now, sure, you can look at it and say, oh, well, Tampa played last night. They're on a back-to-back. The Sens didn't play last night. So, maybe they did have a bit of an advantage there, especially in the third period. It's quite possible. But at the end of the day, this is a huge win, and they need every single point they can get because, I'll say it again, this playoff race in the East, and the West for that matter, it's going to come right down to the wire. And, yeah, this is just another very impressive win by the Sens. Alright, so let's take a look at the stats for tonight's game. So the Sens win by a score of 6-2 over the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they now improve to 41, 27, and 10. Tampa drops to 48, 24, and 6. And look at the stats, like they're pretty even for the most part. The shots were 32-30 for the Sens. Face-up percentage, let me double check that. For some reason that feels off. No, that's right. 60.9% for Tampa. A rare bad night in the face-off dot for the Sens, as they only win 39.1% of the draws. And their special teams were near perfect. Check this out. Tampa goes 0 for 2, so the Sens are 2 for 2 on their penalty kill, and they also go 2 for 3 on their power play. So if they went 3 for 3, then you're looking at perfect special teams, but that's pretty darn good. So that's it's gonna help you win a lot of games if your special teams do that. Penalty minutes were 8-6 with Tampa having the most. Hits were 19-15 in favor of the Sens. Block shots were tied at 12 apiece. Giveaways were 18 by the Lightning and 11 by the Sens, and the takeaways were tied at 4 apiece. And as mentioned, this was the final meeting of the season between these two teams, and it is a possible first round matchup. And when I get into the standings are a complete mess, by the way. So yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit here, but yeah, we're gonna go through the scoring summary and the 4 stars of the game. Few guys had really big nights tonight, including this guy. I am wearing my Stützle jersey yet again. So again, with the watch parties, I do not take any notes. So we start off the game here, and there was no scoring in the first period. There were stretches during this game, especially in the first period. There wasn't really too much going on. It was pretty tight checking, pretty defensive. So the shots end up being 11-7 Tampa in the first period. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I said this during the watch party as well. I'm thinking like, this kind of feels like it's going to be a 1-0 final. Nope. So we roll into the second period, and Jordan Spence would open the scoring, 15:46 in, his 7th of the season from Tkachuk and Stützle, and the Sens go up 1-0. So then, a few minutes later, it was Nick Paul, the former Sen. Bit of a unlucky bounce here for the Sens. There was a pass across, it hit off of Tkachuk, I believe it was, and bounces right to Paul, and he scores 18:23 into the period from Perry and Kucherov. This ties the game at 1, and that's how we end the second period. Did I say it was 2-2 earlier? I think I might have. I knew it was tied. I think I might have said 2-2, but anyways. Yeah, so we end the second period. It's tied 1-1. The shots in the second period were 12-7 in favor of the Sens. So overall, the shots were 19-18 for the Sens after 2 periods, and it's tied 1-1. Like, insanely even. And then in the third period, just the floodgates open. So we go into the third period, and Zetterlund scores the first goal of the third period, his 14th of the season from Tkachuk and Crotty getting his first NHL point on this goal at the 2:45 mark, and the Sens go up 2-1. So then, less than 2 minutes later, Jake Sanderson would score his 12th of the season from Stützle and Tkachuk at the 4:39 mark. This makes it 3-1, and Sanderson took a shot off the skate earlier in the game. He ended up going to the dressing room, and I'm like, oh my god, I hope he comes back. And he comes back, and he makes a heck of a play. Just takes it to the net. This is the one that kind of got knocked off his stick, and it slid. I think it was 5-hole. I don't know if he was trying to do that. I don't think he was, but the point is, if you get pucks to the net, you take it hard to the net, then good stuff is going to happen, right? So, yeah, I think his foot's feeling fine. So 3-1 Sens at that point. Perry would end up scoring here from McDonough and Paul at the 10:35 mark. This would make it 3-2. There was maybe a shift or two where I thought, the Sens are kind of starting to sit back a little bit, but they turned it on completely after that. So at the 12:51 mark, Stützle would score from Dylan Cousins and Batherson on the power play at the 12:51 mark, his 34th of the season. This makes it 4-2 Sens. And then, 13 seconds later, Jake Sanderson scores his 2nd of the game, also on the power play, from Tkachuk and Batherson. 2 goals 13 seconds apart. Like, need I say more? 2 power play goals at that. Because what happened here was, going back to the Stützle goal, they challenged this. Tampa challenged this for goalie interference. They lost the challenge, so the Sens went back to the power play, and they made them pay for it. So the Sens are up 5-2, and later on in the game, about 3.5 minutes later, Tampa would get a power play, and they end up pulling Johansson for the extra attacker, so it ends up being a 6-on-4 for Tampa. And then Pinto would score the empty netter, which was also shorthanded at the 16:41 mark, his 22nd of the season. This makes it 6-2, and that ends up being your final. So Just they score 5 goals in the third period. How many shots did they have in the third period? They had 13. 5 goals on 13 shots in the third period for the Sens. Like, just the floodgates open in a big way. So if you look at the 3 stars, there's one that really stands out to me. So the first star of the game was Jake Sanderson. He had 2 goals, and he was very close to having a hat trick. He made an attempt at the empty net that just missed, so he could have very well had a hat trick. And then the second star of the game, Brady Tkachuk with 4 assists, which I believe they said was a career high for him. The captain came to play tonight. It might have been his best game of the season. I'm not kidding. He was on fire tonight. He was hitting, he was showing the energy, emotion. He was making some nice moves around defensemen. I'm like, this is the Brady we need here. And the third star of the game, this is kind of funny. Third star of the game, Stützle, this guy, he gets a goal and 2 assists, but he's the third star of the game. Like, that's crazy. There's a few guys you can pick that had just really, really solid nights tonight. So we're going to go look at the box score. There's a lot of stuff to get through here for the Sens. So we will start off with the forwards. So as mentioned, Tkachuk had 4 assists, Stützle with a goal and an assist. Batherson also had 2 assists, and Dylan Cousins had 1 assist. Pinto and Zetterlund also adding a goal. And plus minus, nobody was higher than +1. Oh, that Sanderson was +2, but don't want to get ahead of myself here. So for the plus minus, Tkachuk, Pinto, Nick Cousins, Amadio, Gregg, and Eller were all +1. Batherson was -1. He was the only forward who was a minus. Ice time leader was Stützle. He played 18:31. And Stützle and Dylan Cousins led in shots with 4. And we got Pinto, Stützle, and Eller leading in blocks with 1. And for hits, leading the way was Tkachuk and Pinto. They had 3 each. Alright, and looking at the defense stats here, as mentioned, Sanderson had 2 goals. Spence also had a goal, and Crotty getting the assist there, his first NHL point, so big congrats to him. And I was saying in the watch party too, I said something along the lines of, Crotty's looked pretty good tonight. Like, I think he's looked pretty solid. He hasn't looked out of place. And he ends up getting his first NHL point tonight, so good on him. So plus minus, as mentioned, Sanderson was +2. And Zub and Spence were both +1. Everyone else was even. So ice time leader was Sanderson, played 24:08. It's a little bit lower because he did leave for a little bit with that when he took that puck off the skate. I think it was his skate, but thankfully he came back and he ends up scoring 2 goals. Almost had a hat trick. So yeah, just heck of a game for him. So Sanderson led the way in blocks, not blocks, sorry, in shots with 5. Zub led in blocks with 5 blocks. Wow, 5 blocks for Zub. That's a lot. That's almost half of what the team had tonight. And for hits, Crotty, Spence, Matt and Sanderson all had 1 hit each. And that's it for that. And if we look at the save percentage for Ullmark, he stops 28 out of 30 for a .933 save percentage. You'll love to see that. Yeah, not too much to complain about here. I had obvious concerns going into this game because, there's been a bit of a theme where the team, or if a team is in a playoff spot, they tend to play worse, which the Sens, they have been doing lately. So I had my concerns going into tonight, and again, the game was it was really even. The shots were almost dead even after the second period. It was tied 1-1. But yeah, the floodgates just completely opened up in the third period, and the Sens took advantage. So yeah, I'll say it again. It can be very easy to get your hopes up right now if you're a Sens fan, but there's still work to be done. There are 4 games remaining, and none of them are going to be easy. Like, I know that they got some weaker opponents here to end off the schedule. So in order, as you can see on the layout, Their next game will be on Thursday, April 9th, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern against the Florida Panthers. So you might be thinking, okay, well, that's an easy opponent. The Panthers are nowhere near a playoff spot. But remember what they did to them in their last game, right? Hopefully they don't go down 5-0 in the first period again. So, yeah, let's not do that. But then after that, it's the Islanders, Devils, and the Leafs to close out the season. And yeah, they're not in the clear by any means. They need to keep playing the same way. Like these last two games have been very impressive, and this is what they can do. They put up 6 goals against Tampa and Carolina. Like that's just really impressive. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Once again, big shout out and thank you to everyone who came out to the watch party tonight. Really do appreciate that. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one, guys. So the Sens win by a score of 6-2 over the Tampa Bay Lightning. And there's another night where the Sens will sit in the second wildcard position at the end of the night, I should say. But yes, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and go Sens go.